Well, you guys know that I have a big boat and that someday I want to take it out and I want to go cruising and out on the water, but I still have to hook up my motors and I have to get electronics. There's so many things that I have to do that it's going to be a long time before that ever really happens. However, in the meantime, my friend Mike, who helped me put the motors in my boat, took me out on his boat from, where did we go? From Marathon, down in Florida Keys, all the way up the East Coast to Fort Pierce, which is about as high as Tampa, but it's on the East Coast. It was an amazing trip. He took me and my dogs, and over the course of 3 days of cruising in his boat, we just motored up the East Coast, stopping along the way, going to different places, and it really was a fantastic journey. And of course I had my camera rolling, but I caught so much on the camera that I won't be able to fit it all in this video. So I'm going to make 3 different videos for every single day that we were cruising, starting with the night before the first day, which was when we were driving down to Marathon. Mike's son joined him and myself and the dogs for the ride down there so that he could take the truck back. There's Mike grilling up some dinner that night. It was quite good. Oh, hey Mike, don't burn the burgers. The rest of that night we just did what we could to prepare the boat, and then got some sleep, eagerly anticipating the trip that would come the next day. I had the front berth to myself. Well, me and the dogs did. And the following morning they were eager to get out and go exploring. The following morning was beautiful. Nice and cool and dewy, and the water was calm, there was no wind. It was just gorgeous out. I planned on taking the dogs for a nice little walk today, because it was going to be their last opportunity to go potty before, well, we had quite a distance to cover before they were going to be on dry land again. They were giving me a good pull and I wasn't even really awake yet. The water was just gorgeous out here outside the marina. It was going to be a nice day for traveling. But until we could get started, there was a couple of things that needed to be done.
Let's go. Good.
That's pretty heavy. Mike had a pretty good plan for this, seeing how he had just come from Tampa down here to Marathon. We had this big cooler here that we were going to use just for ice. I moved the waters out of the white cooler to make room for a couple of beers. The marina where the boat was left, down there in Marathon, was a working marina. Beautiful, filled with nice landscaping and lots and lots of lobster pots. They also had a place here to get live bait, and they had plenty of ice.
One of the great things about Poncho Fuel Dock is you get all your ice free if you stay here. And if If you're a bad person, this is where they take you.
Ooh, that's cold. Nice.
Hey, nice.
That little dinghy that Mike had tied to the side of his boat had been there for quite a while and had collected some rainwater, so I pumped it all out. Meanwhile, Mike was inside checking the motors. Making sure everything was ready for some good times. Soon we were going to be ready to untie the lines and move the boat. Our first trip, however, was a short one. We went from where the boat had been tied off, right around the corner, to the fuel dock. This was going to be one of many stops to fuel up.
Might get a little offshore action. Going north.
See you in a couple days.
Oh, have fun out there. See you on the next round.
Thanks for the ice and gas.
At least we got a beautiful day to leave on.
Yeah.
I mean.
Upon leaving Pancho's fuel dock, Mike's son got the truck and drove it back up to Polk County, where they're from. And Mike and I headed out onto the clear blue water. Our average speed for this trip was going to be about 8 or 9 knots. We were in no rush. And we had all day to get there. There's our little Pelican dinghy getting towed behind us. There's the dogs having the time of their lives. Here we are heading out, away from where the boat had been moored, out towards the 7-mile bridge. Our plan was to travel on the inside of the overseas highway up the Florida Bay until we got to about Key Largo, where we would head out to the Atlantic side. The weather was beautiful, and there's no reason that we couldn't travel out on the ocean side instead of up the intercoastal waterway, which is usually more protected. Here you can see the dogs trying to get used to the boat. No worries though, by the end of the trip they were seasoned boat dogs. Mike took some time to get me familiar with his electronics.
As you can see, those, I've set this line, those are places we're going to. The breadcrumbs are the ones that, but each time you're kind of just following, what you do is you're picking something on the horizon that looks about that line. Although you can.
Then we took turns driving, because Honestly, it got a little boring at times. And like you said, you just pick a spot on the horizon and you aim for it, and you just let the miles go by, one after another. It was pretty peaceful and relaxing. Here you can see me taking a turn at the wheel, and soon Mike came and relieved me. That gave me an opportunity to go below and hang out with the dogs a little bit, and try out my hammock. It was pretty wonderful. And again, the weather was just awesome.
Kendall, sunny, temperature 78, wind calm. At Miami, it was mostly sunny, temperature 83, wind northeast 3 miles an hour. These are the 8 a.m. marine reports. Pulaski Shoal live at the Dry Tortugas, wind east 9 knots. At Smith Shoal, wind east 8 knots. Sandkey Light, wind east 5 knots. Longkey, wind east 5 knots. At Alligator Reef, wind northeast 5 knots. At Carey's Fort Reef, wind variable 6 knots. And at the buoy 210 miles northwest of Dry Tortugas, wind east 8 knots. Waves were 1 foot with a period of 4 seconds.
Well, according to Stephen Hawkins, who I didn't really know had a side job reporting the weather, the weather was just absolutely wonderful. And I was told that it's not always like that out there on the open ocean. But it seemed like the only thing that we had to worry about was the shoals that might pop up out of nowhere.
Shoal. And it is. Look on there. Yep. Yeah. 1 foot.
It really is truly amazing that people ever navigated these waters without electronic navigation. But once you have the right electronics, it was just like driving down a road. Here up ahead, we go through the bridge, and now we were out on the Atlantic side, and we were going to stop and get some fuel. This was Holiday Isle Marina. I wasn't able to get the camera because the dogs were in such a rush to get out and go for a walk, which they did successfully. And the same could be said for us fueling up. It really is a beautiful marina over there at Holiday Isle. But we didn't linger very long because we still had a lot of miles to cover, and there was some place out there that we wanted to stop and check out. Here you can see us cruising along this beautiful emerald green water, and underneath us there was a whole bunch of reefs. Mike took some time out to grill up some pork chops too. That was delicious. There's something to be said about having a barbecue out on the water. And not too long after that, we got to where we wanted to be, John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park. That's a state park on the water, actually. And we threw our anchor down, we put our snorkel gear on, and we planned to do a little diving. Mike had told me that this was unlike any place else he'd ever seen in the world, and he had dove in all kinds of amazing places, and he said that in his opinion this was amongst the best in the world for snorkeling. Now me, I'm usually on top of the water on a kayak, not actually swimming with the fishes. I mean, I'm from Brooklyn, swimming with the fishes is not exactly something you want to do. But this seemed like an opportunity I couldn't pass up.
Where's your leads in case of leads?
Well, I'm certainly not the best snorkeler in the world, and I saw a bunch of things that I wasn't able to get on camera, like a big toothy barracuda, which kind of freaked me out. But seeing the sunset and the beautiful waters, that I'm familiar with. That part was really comfortable, really nice. We drove through the night until well after the full moon came up and showed itself. And then finally we threw an anchor out and we spent the night on the water. The following day we woke up and we had all kinds of new adventures, like following a cruise ship, and we caught ourselves a big fish, and we dodged a couple of rainstorms. But you'll have to stay tuned and wait until I put the second day of this trip together, which will be coming out on my channel soon. Thanks for watching as always, and if you haven't already, click the subscribe button. And if you're interested in the cruising lifestyle, might I suggest following Mike's YouTube page as well. I'll leave a link to that in the description below.